Welcome back to Tech Vibes with Shaphy. Few months back, when we posted a job and grabbed a cup of coffee, by the time I was back, it was like 250 resumes waiting. And that's the reality of today's job market. And that's our vibe, the resume overload.
250 resumes sounds crazy. How did you fix it? Is AI helping?
Yes, of course. AI can streamline the process of analyzing those resume and shortlist for you. Today's vibe is we are going to use a tool called n8n. It's a visual automation platform that you can connect to your resume database and Google Folder Extra to analyze resumes and no coding required.
Consider an n8n like your smart building blocks, each block doing some part of the workload, like assessing the JD, assessing the candidate's resume, scoring them, and such.
I love n8n. I started playing with it. It's an amazing tool. And best part of it is you build it once. You can reuse it for many scenarios as we move forward.
So let's start with the problem. Like, what's actually broken in resume screening?
Let me share my experience, right? So you have 250 plus resumes waiting and it's keep coming in. So you get to fifth or sixth resume, you get distracted, you get a text message. And by the time you hit certain numbers, you totally checked out. So you lose the context. Sometimes you are tired, and to analyze 250 resumes, it may take anywhere between 20 to 25 hours of time to go through each resume and put your notes and prioritize and all of that. That's a problem we're trying to solve. How to analyze those resumes, extract the content, prioritize it, give us some sort of a scores, and all that can be done in few minutes.
I think even bias and issues exist when a manual person is reviewing it, and that is where the AI can kick in. It is not biased and it will always keep in the same quality of results.
So instead of replacing the recruiter, you're just helping them find the right candidates, right?
Absolutely. It's not about replacing people. It's about empowering our people to be effective and be smarter and reduce bias in the hiring process.
Yeah.
So the next step is let's get to the actual show. Let's get to the build.
Let me quickly share the screen. It's visible.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is what you typically see once you create an account with an n8n and have a login. So let's start with, I've already created a workflow for sample purposes, but let's start with a new one.
Mm-hmm.
So every workflow starts with the first step. And the first step here is to collect the required details. So let's start with a form. That simple form that we use on a day-to-day basis. Or let's start with resumes then. I'll just, for ease, I'll name them CV. I can have file upload here, and I'm enabling multiple file upload. And for the purpose of demo, I'm just assuming that all files are going to be PDF. And the next form element can be, let's say, JD, and I'm marking it as text. By that form is done. And now we get a test URL as well as a production URL. The test URL is what we'll be using for the purpose of the demo.
Okay.
And with that initial step is done. So the easiest way to go forward is let's start with that running each workflow one by one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's upload to CVs and just submitted a form and let's run.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens here is that form was submitted with 2 CVs as well as a JD. I've just copy pasted the JD.
So you took a sample JD and then you posted 2 resumes. Okay. And what happens?
So what happens here is both those files have been uploaded. You can see 0 and 1 here.
Mm-hmm.
And the JD is the text as such. I've not done any processing so far.
Mm-hmm.
The next step on the list would be to start processing the JD.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to create a messenger model. I can go with AI agents, messenger model. Yeah, this is okay. I don't need an agent for evaluating this. I think we can just create messenger model, which is easier.
Mm-hmm.
So this messenger model is what we'll be going with.
And what it does?
So what messenger model does is it's more like the OpenAI's default chat window. We can have an input and also a chat, and then the response would be generated based on that. And since I've already wired up a OpenAI account, it will use my credential. You can also go here and create a new credential. So basically these keys are the ones that you get when you set up a new OpenAI account.
I see.
Alternatively, there is also an option to go with n8n's OpenAI credentials, and this can be loaded in n8n itself if you don't want a hassle of setting up OpenAI separately.
Got it.
So I choose messenger model here. From the list, let's go with, since 5 is the latest, let's go with 5 mini. And as for the prompt, I'm just setting up a prompt. It says you are an expert recruiter. Rewrite the JD to ensure it's detailed and crisp and do not exaggerate. Evaluates the existing JD and then refines it to create a proper JD.
Okay.
Now I'm setting it as a system level prompt because that is how the system has to act. And below, I'm gonna add that prompt from the user, which is that user input. You can see the details, and the JSON says, okay, the JD is available here. I can drag and drop it here. So now the input is the JD. And since we are done here, I can go ahead and execute, and it will show that cleaned up JD.
So basically, you have a JD, you used your OpenAI credentials and add that prompt that you normally give it in ChatGPT, but here in n8n node, and then process that to create a refined JD, basically the way that you want to see it.
Yes.
Awesome.
So this is just a step to ensure that the quality of the JD is good enough. If you're sure that your JD is good enough or don't want the step, you can always skip. With that, I leave this flow here for the time being. Now we have a refined JD. And earlier we also had 2 resumes that I uploaded. So we need to process them. So to process them one by one, I've written a code snippet. So I'm just connecting that with the code snippet. Okay. And run follow item is what I'll select. And the code, I have it ready here. Yep.
And what
This is it.
This code snippet is going to do?
So what this code snippet is going to do is, as you can see, there is 2 CVs files uploaded. So it will iterate through them and then process them one by one.
I really don't know the coding, right? So what should I do in case?
If you don't know what to code, you can always go here and ask AI.
I see.
But the recommended, so if you are not tech savvy, you also have another option that is available, which is.
But here your code is a little bit more efficient code that can do better job than just prompting directly to AI.
Yeah. So if you look at this, there is also this option from n8n, loop over items. It's a little more complicated to configure, which is why I went with the code. That is also an option if you want to go that way. Now, the next component that I'll add is extracting the details from the PDF.
Thank you.
So just renaming to extract from PDF instead of extract from file. What it does is each of these files, it will individually extract from the PDF. I've just fired it up, nothing else done here. So the input is the file and then the output would be text. If I execute this step, you can see the text here. And once this is done, the next step is to configure an agent. So what the agent would do is analyze the profile of the candidate. I can start with that agent, AI agent. This is it. This is the first step. Now, if I go in, okay, first step to do is give a prompt, use a message. Let me start with that. I'm just configuring that model. Now we have the model and the parameter set. For some reason, so now this is working. I'll place it and connect it here. This is done. And for prompt, the JSON of text is the one here. So the prompt is, please extract all relevant information from this candidate. CV content is the text. This is the only prompt that I'm using here. And on chat model, we can have any of these LLMs linked. So since we are already using OpenAI, I'll go ahead and add, okay, 4.1 mini or 5 GPT.
So you can choose the LLM that you want.
Yep.
You just need to have the keys, basically, the access.
Yeah. And even inside that individual LLM, you have all the models listed. So I've added the chat model. And the next thing is, since we need a specific output format, I'm going to click that here. Again, this is just to ensure that we have the accuracy.
We lost your screen, by the way.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. So here inside this, I think this is where we were, require specific output format. This is an option that we can enable just to ensure that we have consistent results. If you don't do this, it will still give the output, but the consistency or the kind of output that we receive might be different. So to ensure that we can have that require specific output format specified here. And again, I've pre-prepared a structural, this is it. This essentially is the minimum information required from each of those candidates: work experience, responsibilities, technical skills, things of that sort.
Okay. You put that into a JSON file.
Yep, that's
And
the
if
JSON format.
I'm not an expert in JSON, I can go to ChatGPT and see that these are the things I want you to look at the resume, create an JSON for me.
Yep,
And then
that
use the
works.
JSON here when you create the n8n node.
Yes,
It's as simple as that.
it's simplest. And next step is, in case you need some quality control, you can add them here. And now the next step would be, we have n number of resumes that has been processed, and we have a full JD. Now we need to merge them to start evaluating. So that's, we are going to use the merge step here, and then just put them here and then connect each of them. Okay. So now we have both of these merged. Now, as you are aware, I think we can go with an agent again for the evaluation. I've run the previous nodes just to make sure that the mapping that I've written is working. I'm just running the previous nodes.
I see. As you create each node, you can test each steps.
Yes.
You don't have to wait until the whole thing is done.
Yep. So it's always recommended to keep testing as you go so that we don't face hiccups later on.
I see.
So merge essentially just clubs in this inputs. So since we have multiple candidates' resumes coming in, that might mix up. So let's see how this goes. And while we are at it, there is also one other option that we can enable, which is in settings of each agent, you can have retry on fail, which is because if the LLM hallucinates or something, we have the option to retry on fail.
That's good.
So this is how the results are looking right now. So since this is undefined, there is no index and such, we might need to have that added up. So between this AI agent and merge, I'll add a separate component. It's going to be a code component again. So just something to make sure that the merged inputs are looking in the proper format. Okay, I think that's it. Now for the agent, we can connect it here. Now we have the prompts here, and we can go ahead and connect that GPT. Okay, so OpenAI, GPT 4.1 mini. Okay, I've enabled that. The next one is that output parser. Again, some structure for the response. We have the AI JSON position. Yeah, that's done. Now the output here is going to be a scored list. Now, in case we need some further validation, we can have a qualifying criteria or some node to push it to production.
Got it.
So let's go ahead and run.
Excited.
Okay. Now we start with a quick refresh. Okay. Now execute the workflow. You see the pop-up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say I'm going with that and for, okay, so that was the CV. Sorry. Let me see if we can push up all the 20 resumes.
Oh, so you're loading 20 resumes to this workflow.
Yes.
Okay.
And for the role, let me quickly open it up.
So that's like a JD.
Yeah. Now, essentially, what is happening is each of these components are running. It roughly takes 3 to 4 minutes
to go through this.
Yes. And in case a workflow fails, like if the JSON response is not correct to something, it retries till we have that response format corrected for each of those individual 20 resumes.
Okay. So if you have like 100 resumes, what would be kind of estimated time for this?
Again, depends. But most likely less than 10 minutes.
Got it.
So I can get a clean list without even opening a single candidate's resume?
Yes. So if you see this, there is an error here. So we can just go ahead and retry the step.
Okay.
So the big advantage here is you can always know where the error is and then retry that individual.
So that's a recap for today's session. Everything that you have seen will be available in our show notes. Subscribe to our newsletter, and the script, the JSON, is available in our website absolutely for free.
Follow Tech Vibes with Shaphy and subscribe to our YouTube as well.
Thank you, and thanks for joining us for TechWise with the Shaphy. Next time we will come back to you with more interesting workflows like this.